March 2nd. We're here at Comic-Con Revolution. Well, we're at the Marriott at West Palm Beach. Day of Comic-Con Revolution. I'm here with Ming Chen. How are you doing today, Ming?
I'm doing great. There's not a cloud in the sky. About to go to Comic-Con Revolution. I just left New Jersey, which was snowing like a couple inches. I'm having a blast. I love Florida, man. You guys have a great place here.
Yeah, you can't complain. It's nice and bright out. It's going to be a good day. It looks like it's going to be very busy today at the show. So let's just jump right into it. Last year we had the chance to catch up with Ming for the same show. It was a blast. So anyone who's out there, Comic-Con Revolution, check it out. West Palm Beach Convention Center. Anyhow, April of last year was the end of Comic Book Men. And you guys kind of went out on a high note because you guys got your own Funko toy. Tell me a little bit about what that was like.
I don't know if you're like I'm going to assume that everybody watching this and you toy collectors love
Absolutely.
toys. I've been collecting since 1982, 83. G.I. Joe was my big thing, but Transformers, you know, a little bit of He-Man, stuff like that. So, and then now that I'm older, when we get older, what do? We try to buy all our old toys back. So I'm hardcore into the toys, and then like the toys they make now are amazing. Unfortunately they're like you know, like the hot toys are like $200-300. But your dream as a hardcore toy collector is to someday have your own toy, but not only have your own toy, but the official packaging and all of that. And just so, and you know, I guess anybody could have made an official, I guess, Ming Chen action figure or toy or whatever. Just so happens one of my most favorite toy companies in the world right now, and one of the hottest toy companies out there right now, you know, made Comic Book Men Pops. It was very unlikely, and you know, when I saw the first one, it had my name printed on it, and you know, they got the likeness right. It looks like me, like the hair is awesome, and you know, I mean, it's insane. It's insane that somewhere some kid would walk into a store
and
buy a Ming Chen pop figure. But not only that, I think the thing that really enamored me was somewhere in some comic book shop, a Ming Chen pop figure is next to like a Darth Vader or a Luke Skywalker or like a Thanos or you know,
or the USS flag. For those watching the Comic Book Men out there,
yeah.
You still have that toy?
I actually ended up selling it to a guy. So I ended up selling to a guy who's opening up a brewery in town. He was like, "Hey, if you sell this to me, when I open up, you get a free beer for life." I'm like, "Sold."
That's a good deal.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Whoa, man, that's such a cool thing! Like, what you bought it? Why would you sell it?" I'm like, you know what? I had no room for it. The thing's over 7 feet long. The USS.
Yeah, I remember when you guys built it.
I legit had no room for it, and I was like, you know what? I'll get. You know, he ended up giving it to his son, who I think was about 12 or 13. And kind of passing on the love of G.I. Joe to another generation. I'm like, well, and free beer.
That's perfect.
I had, you know, otherwise it was sitting in the basement of the stash for 2 years, so
wow.
It didn't even see the light of day. So you know, I felt a better home. He lets me visit it whenever I want, and I have my eyes set on another USS flag, but I want one in box this time.
Yeah, maybe a little bit better for the storage aspect as well. And you guys were also involved slightly with the Finding. It was a Funko movie that was on Netflix. Did that kind of come about during the promotion when you guys did the Comic Book Men episode?
Yeah, they're like, hey, while we're shooting this episode, there's a documentary crew in here. They're doing a documentary about you know, the rise, the making of Funko, the making of fun, and you know, do you mind if we shoot you guys shooting your show? It was a little Inception-like. And yeah, we were like, yeah, absolutely. Never thinking that we would actually make it in. You know, I think they were just shooting just to get some footage. And then we saw a cut, and right near the end, they're like, holy crap, there we are. We're in the documentary.
Yeah, you guys were at the premiere and everything.
Yeah, which is like double cool. And they're like, okay, this is a final cut. You know, we may make some edits, and like, okay, we're definitely getting cut out because it was cool to see, but you didn't really need it. I felt in the documentary, although it was really cool. But yeah, I made it to the final cut. So
yeah, that is too cool. I mean, it's like a dream come true, especially since you were just talking about how Funko is like a brand new, you hold in high esteem. And since the show ended in April, you've been very busy. It looks like with your studio. It's a shared universe podcast studio. For those that are interested, can you tell us a little bit about how that venture started and kind of where you're at today?
Yeah, if you watch Comic Book Man, you see in between all the scenes and stuff, we podcast. We're sitting around a podcast table, and we're podcasting with Kevin Smith. Kevin, I feel, is one of the pioneers of podcasting. He started way back in 2007. And he eventually got all of us into it. It was kind of like I don't want to call it a virus, but it's very infectious though. He made it look like fun, and he got all of us into it, and we fell in love with it as well. any podcasters out there know how addictive it is podcasting, how much fun it is. I love it just for the pure aspect that I've always wanted my own radio show, and until podcasting came into existence, people had to go to broadcasting school, then they had to audition for a job. Like getting on the radio was very hard to have your own show. And even when you got on there, you couldn't talk about whatever you wanted. You know, could I go off for 3 hours about how much I love G.I. Joe? Like, no. No, you would have to stick to whatever subject the radio station, you know, whatever their main focus was. You had to stop for ads. You couldn't curse. You couldn't say whatever you wanted. So podcasting came along, and I could start my 3-hour podcast about G.I. Joe. I could curse if I wanted to. I could say whatever I wanted. I was like, wow, this is really awesome. I loved it so much. I'm like, I bet other people would love to do this too. And the only barrier is that they don't know how. You know, they don't know what gear to get. They don't want to dump a bunch of money. They don't know the technical aspects about where to put it, how to get on iTunes, all that. It's like, I could show them how to do that.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to mention was that you actually went to a high school too, and you were able to speak to the students about podcasting. Because I'm sure now, with it being such a kind of a popular way to get your voice out there, there's so many avenues. You have YouTube, you have what's the other one, SoundCloud,
yep.
And there's just so many ways to get your voice out there. So it's kind of cool because you're talking to a generation that's pretty much all they know now in terms of getting heard. And you're having the opportunity to speak to them about it. How does that feel?
It feels good. I noticed most podcasters are they're in their 20s and older, and I noticed there weren't a lot of kids podcasting. Anyone, I think it's for all ages. I think anyone until you can start talking, up until you take your last breath. That's your podcast market right there. But I thought high school kids were perfect. I was like, listen, I know you guys have something to say. You know, high school kids have an opinion on whatever. So I met my friend who actually comes in and podcasts at our studio. Was like, hey, I teach AV at the local high school. Would you ever consider coming down for a couple hours and showing the kids how to podcast? I'm like, absolutely, man. So I brought gear down there, and usually we're able to fill a couple hours. So I spent the first hour telling why podcasting is cool, why they should do it, my history with Kevin, and why podcasting is going to be the future. And then the second hour, I break them up into groups of 4, and I podcast with them, and they're able to, 1, find out how fun it is, 2, how completely free it is. Like, we talk about whatever they want, and then I send them the recording afterwards, and they can listen and play it back. And hopefully I
get a feel for the sound quality, the whole
exactly.
process.
So hopefully I hook them in right there. So.
And it's kind of neat because Kevin Smith kind of does the same thing when he speaks to other students, whether it's through Skype or whatever. And in the filmmaking industry, you're kind of doing that now with podcasting. So you guys have kind of taken off on your own. And Kevin's obviously no stranger to podcasting either. But yeah, another thing I was going to talk about is I know you guys had a chance to have some really awesome guests on that show. I mean, it was incredible between Adam West,
Ernie Hudson, Rosario Dawson, Ralph Macchio, Stan Lee. So, Mike Coulter from Luke Cage, and then the 2 guys from Star Wars, Billy D. Williams and Peter Mayhew.
Speaking of Mike Coulter, how do you feel about that cancellation? Man?
I think one, it's a natural move with Disney starting their own streaming service, so they're gonna absorb all that. In the press, they're like, oh no, we're not gonna continue. We didn't pull it off just to start our own. I think it's a smokescreen. I think complete crap.
Absolutely.
While the Defenders was not maybe as awesome as I wanted it to be, I really liked the chemistry between Mike Coulter and Finn Jones, Power Man and Iron Fist. I believe that we will see that in the future.
And they looked the part. Come on,
yeah.
You couldn't find a better guy to look like that.
Yeah. But I want to see Heroes for Hire, man. I think we all have since the 70s.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with you there. And that brings me to my question, which would be, you guys had all these guests, and including on the last season, you had Michael Gray, Billy Batson from Shazam. And my question is to you, since then, you've kind of hit the road a lot more. You've met so many more people. Is there any people you think, man, I wish I had them on the show and I could have asked them, just like I asked Michael Gray during our time?
We usually come up with a wish list of people who want to come on, and some say yes and they come on the show. A lot say no, either due to scheduling, or if you haven't seen Comic Book Man and you're handed a piece of paper going, hey, this is what the show is about. It's about 4 dudes in a comic book shop and they're really into pop culture and they have guests, and it doesn't sound that enticing. So I could see why some of the people we probably pitched to probably was like, I'm not doing this. Always at the top of my personal list was George Lucas. the architect of the Star Wars universe. Yeah, I mean, geez, he's a hero of mine, and love him or hate him, I think he's gotten a lot of flack for the prequels, but that guy started basically a religion, but based on
I think a lot of the show would even exist on the media, outside the comic book aspect.
Yeah, but I think I mean, how boring would life be without Star Wars? I mean, honestly.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I give him complete credit for that. I would have loved to have asked him about the prequels and hey man, what were you thinking? What was going through your head? And were you disappointed by their reaction? I mean, there's a million questions I'd have for him, for sure. One that we all agreed that we really wanted to have on and never happened was Henry Winkler, the Fonz.
Oh man, that would have been perfect.
Yeah,
I'm sure Walt would have loved it.
Yeah, Walt worships him, as some people know, and I mean he's the coolest guy on the planet. So we've met him at cons and stuff, and while we didn't directly approach him about being on the show, we kind of indirectly tried to hint that we would have liked him on, but he's just so busy that it didn't happen. I always wanted Ernest Cline, the guy who wrote Ready Player One. He's a true geek, and
I just saw him on that Atari documentary where they went to dig out the cartridges.
Yeah, Game Over.
Yeah,
yeah, that guy's a true geek. He's one of my favorite people in the world, and I've only talked to him through Twitter, but we're cut from the same cloth. We love the same stuff. We worship the same geekdom.
Pop culture worship, right there.
And he was able to channel his fandom into a book and then a hit movie. So, and that's the dream of any fanboy, really, is to get.
And he drives a DeLorean.
And he drives a DeLorean.
Come on.
Mashed up with the Ecto one, he calls it the Ecto 88, and he even offered to drive that DeLorean on the show, and I was like, this is perfect, but it just didn't work out, unfortunately. And then Mark Hamill, Star Wars again. I would have loved to have Mark Hamill on the show.
You guys got Chewbacca though.
Yeah, but Mark Hamill, not only is Luke Skywalker and the Joker and
pop culture royalty right there.
But he's a geek as well. He took a bunch of his Star Wars money, bought comics and toys with it. So I would love to just talk to him about collecting.
Absolutely. And do you still do any work in any capacity with the stash since the show?
Oh yeah, I'm still in and out. I don't have to be there full time anymore. I started up the podcast studio, so I'm able to dedicate more time to that. But yeah, if you go to the store, chances are you'll probably see me.
Right on. And do you see any sort of reunion with any of those boys, considering Walt's notorious fear of flying?
Oh, you mean on TV or just?
No, just doing any shows together. I know that you guys because I've even heard you guys talk about it on your podcast. Brian, one guy in the whole shows with you occasionally, and Mike Zapsik as well.
Yeah.
So you see anything coming up?
Yeah, he doesn't really like crowds, and he doesn't fly, so that prohibits him to maybe a 200-mile radius. But we see us again. Kevin's shooting a new movie right now, right? Called James Bond Reboot. You may see us pop up in there. You may or may not. We'll just leave it at that. But
right on. Yeah, we were actually going to ask you if we can expect a Ming Chen cameo in that film, and what can we expect? I mean, you know a little bit about Kevin. Tell us a little inside dirt.
Yeah, I have not read the script, so I don't know anything about it. But judging if you check out his Instagram, it looks like he's getting the whole gang back together. It looks like he's putting everybody who is in a USQ movie is going to make an appearance. And while I haven't been directly, I think it's not true. I was in Dogma, but I didn't have any lines or anything. But I think he's written parts for basically everyone who's existed in this world. So,
do you have a favorite Kevin Smith film? If you had to pick one off the top of your head,
it's tough. I mean, it's a dead heat tie between Dogma and Clerks. Clerks was the first Kevin Smith movie I ever saw. Changed my life. It was because of that movie that I'm sitting here with you now in West Palm Beach, about to go to a Comic-Con. But Dogma is just one of the most unique movies that I've ever seen. And he integrated religion, a poop monster, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon in Wings, Chris Rock. I mean, there's so many great things about that movie. And I got to be in it, sitting next to Jane Silent Bob in a strip club watching Salma Hayek close off. I mean, that's pretty tough to top. So.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, has Ming made a cameo in it? And you just answered my question. Yep. There you go. And as far as the show goes, when you look back on it, and it being 7 seasons is nothing to sneeze at. That's a long run for a television show. Is there a moment that you think that defines when you think of the show, or when someone asks you about your favorite thing that you did on it? Is there something that comes to mind?
I mean, buying the USS Flag was definitely one of them. I mean, there were so many great moments. Stanley coming in twice, definitely. Racing the Black Beauty against the Batmobile with Adam West in the Batmobile, that's pretty crazy. Getting your own Funko Pop figure. I mean, there's just really not one moment I think kind of defines everything. But I think just moments where we're sitting around the poker table and BSing about what would we do if we had the force. Those are the moments that we do every day at the shop.
I think the reason that show lasted and did as well as it did, especially when you have moments so rife like that in the show where you guys are just kind of sitting around BSing, I think it works so well because it just seems like a couple of guys that anybody could be that are just a bunch of friends of comic book collecting and pop culture in general, and it just comes off natural, like the way that you talk to your friends when you go to a comic shop or the owner or someone you might know there. So I think that's kind of what works so well about that show. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I agree. When they first said they're gonna do a show about you guys in the comic book shop, I'm like, woo! Watch a bunch of old guys sitting around in the comic book store arguing about flux capacitors and the midichlorians and all this geek talk. And after we aired, and people were like, hey man, I love your show. I slowly realized that every dead-end job, every fast food restaurant, every car wash, every office job,
in a comic
yeah,
book
exactly.
shop.
Every convenience store that there are four guys getting together, arguing about the same stuff that we were. So and a lot of places out there, people kind of related to us, and I think that was a big component of the show. But for me, that's us. That's what we do. So that's what we'll continue to do. We'll be in a nursing home, still arguing about the same things.
You shot first.
Yeah, exactly. And for them to put that on TV and show other people that, hey, this is how it is, and there are four guys out there just like you guys arguing about the same stuff and making it so at the time it seems so important. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that important. Who shot first? Who cares? They're starving kids.
I love the show though so much is that you guys just come off natural. You got a couple of guys that just happen to have a camera sitting on you guys BSing about pop culture.
That's what we would do, cameras or no cameras. That's what we would do. So I think that was cool that
chemistry comes off authentic.
Yeah, and I really love that the world got to see Walt Flanagan and Brian Johnson. They're two extremely unique individuals two guys that I've never met. I've never met anybody like them, and I was like, man, I wish everyone could see what I see. And now they do, so it's cool.
And not even just sitting around at the shop. You guys actually had the opportunity. I think you guys went to this Jaws museum. You went to the Pez museum, and then you guys ended up finally going to the Funko at the grand opening, being amongst the first group of people to walk through it and see it. My question is there anything that you collect heavily that falls into any of these categories that's maybe you don't even want to talk about it? It's a closet collecting, something you just collect heavily. Do you have anything like that?
I mean, the pops are definitely an addiction, and every time you buy a haul, you're like, all right, that's it. I'm not gonna buy anymore. This is it. I'm stopping. I have 100 or a couple hundred. It's too many. It's ridiculous. And then they come out with diehard Funko Pop figures. Of course I gotta get those. They come out with Lost Boys. Of course I gotta get those. They keep licensing these amazing properties and you can't not buy them, and that's.
Yeah, it's an endless cycle with the Funkos.
Yeah, that's one of them. On the higher end, I've gotten addicted to statues, like cold cast porcelain, resin.
Yeah, the ones that
PVC
are kind of exclusive to the shows.
And that all started was because I noticed that IKEA sells a $59 glass case and it looks museum quality, and I'm like, oh, this case is so cheap. Me and Mike picked two of them up for the studio. I was like, well, now we got to fill them, and the ironic part is we're filling them with $300 statues now. So so I can't. That's not something I can do on a regular basis, but every so often,
just drop a little spot just to add on a little bit once in a while.
If there's a cool, General Giant Wolverine statue, it's like, hey, it looks pretty cool. Save up some money, go do a con or something, and buy a statue. So.
And now that you have been doing the show as long as you had, and now you're doing a lot of traveling and you're making your name with your own podcasting studio, you've probably met countless people, whether it was from pop culture, television, comic books, obviously, movies and film. Is there anyone that looks at you and is like, holy crap, it's Ming Chen. I saw you on TV, and you're like, whoa, you recognize me? That just blew your mind?
That's why I go to semi-cons. I think it's a good ego boost. So usually at cons you got concentration of pop culture fans. So a percentage of the people have seen the show. So it's pretty cool that just to get that. It's like, oh, you watch, that's cool, and then we eventually start talking about the stuff that I'm into or they're into. G.I. Joe, Star Wars.
And has any celebrity stopped you and you're like, whoa, relax, you know who I am? There've been a couple who I was like, holy crap, why? My first question is like, why are you watching comic book? And they're like, hey man, I'm a fan just like you. One that comes to mind, Jeffrey D. Morgan from Walking Dead.
arguably one of the hottest stars out there right now, but a guy who's like really into geek and pop culture. So he
Comedian.
Yeah, exactly. He was in a comic book movie, but he was
Probably the most beloved one too, no less.
But yeah, I went up to him just to meet him. He's like, I know who you are. Like, I watched that episode with you with Ralph Macchio. He taught you how to wax on, wax on. This guy like actually sat through an episode, and he looks like he enjoyed it. Yeah, that was stuff like it happens. Not all the time, but every so often you
get taken back by something.
I'm surprised that someone that I'm a fan of who watches the show.
That's why having 7 seasons on the air, really,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Out there,
it's pretty cool.
And just to kind of wrap things up, I just wanted to mention one of the questions we always ask on our interviews here on our interview spotlights is, what shows does Ming Chen binge watch? Right now, I'm actually getting through one on Netflix. It's about the Biggie and Tupac murders. And me and my roommate seriously sat through like 8 episodes straight yesterday, wondered where the time went. What is your time killer?
And and just back to Biggie and Tupac, really, and still they don't know. Like, it's ridiculous in this day and age that definitely there's a cover up. That's a whole other story. Watch the documentary. Of course, Game of Thrones is top of the list. I mean, they've done every episode is like a movie.
If we're gonna talk Game of Thrones, man, who's gonna take the throne in this last season? In Ming's personal opinion,
I mean, I gotta go with the short guy, man. I go with Tyrion Lannister for sure. I only for the fact that when you first see him in the first episode, and he's this drunken, kind of bumbling him.
Very complete
arc
for his character.
I just love that. Who would have guessed that in that first episode that he was gonna take the Iron Throne? So, Game of Thrones definitely. I love, and the comics I love. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I love Parks and Recreation, and something that I've been watching just when I have an extra half hour or so. The older episodes of Twilight Zone are fantastic.
Yeah, you must be a little stoked for Jordan Peele's take on the Twilight Zone that'll be coming to CBS streaming, right?
Yeah, I hope they do it justice. It's going to be hard to top Rod Serling, but
when I heard that Jordan Peele was going to be taking the reins on that, I swear I felt like when I watched Get Out, it was a glorified hour-and-a-half episode of the Twilight Zone. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like a perfect mix, for that production side of things.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I'm hoping. I mean, they know what they're getting into. They know what they have to live up to. So they just gotta make it good. It's all in the writing, really.
Absolutely.
It's on the writing. And hopefully, I can imagine it's tough to come up with that type of kind of plot twist episode like week after week. But there are enough talented writers out there that they can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to wrap things up before we head into the show today, if anyone's interested in doing some podcasting, can you give us a little plug for the shared universe of where we may be able to find you, Ming?
Oh yeah, if you're in Jersey, say you're coming to visit the store, or you just want to start a podcast, go to ashareduniverse.com. We started a whole studio just for podcasting. So for anybody interested, if you have one already, maybe you record in your garage or your basement, you want to get out to a cool studio, come on over. Our rates are super reasonable. We'll jump in with you. If you want me and Mike on there with you, we'll jump in with you. That's something that nobody else can offer you. So, definitely check that out. Podcasting is it's the future. It's a great way to market. It's a great way but it's just fun. It's so much fun.
You're able to find these guys. They'll be at A Shared Universe on Instagram, and you guys are on Twitter as well.
Oh yeah. We're on everything. And you can follow me personally. I'm Ming Chen 37, MINGCHEN 37 on all platforms.
And if you're looking to book anytime, go to ashareduniverse.com and look up rates, time, availability, and such. This is the man you want to record your show. And thank you for sitting with us today, Ming. I definitely appreciate it. As we go into Comic-Con Revolution, you excited?
I'm beyond excited. I can't wait. So,
well, we'll see you at the show, and you guys have a great day.
Cool.